We'd like to call our April 2022 committee meetings to order at this time. Commissioners, if you haven't already done so, don't forget to turn on your mics, please. Before we begin our committee meetings tonight, the chair is going to recognize Dr. Perry, who's going to give us an update on the school building program.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, certainly appreciate the opportunity to provide an update, and I was told to make sure this thing is done in 15 minutes, so I'll make sure that that happens. I'm used to speaking to my wife and pleading my case, I only get 5 minutes there, so it should be easy. So with the Lincoln School Elementary, this is a front view of the new elementary school. And actually, Trish, I don't know if this is working. Might have to get you to advance it
Okay.
for me if you don't mind.
Let me get his screen going.
Okay.
It was working a few minutes ago, so.
We've got a computer to monitor down.
Understand.
Let's see if I need to. Excuse me.
Is the remote in there? If you can just advance it for me, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
It was the remote wasn't in there, so.
Okay. Mr. Chair, apologize.
I'll just try.
Just advance it.
Yeah, just advance, but
Okay.
try it one more time just to make sure.
So if we go back, it doesn't work. So on just to recap, when we did the funding request a while back, there was a construction of the Lincoln Elementary School. The site was at the Gateway Service Park. We requested $22 million. The total for the school at that time was about $27 million. We were going to put $5 million in from ESSER funding and then also $5 million in for the Lincoln Middle. And as we said before, we would be responsible if there was any excess over that. And if it come in less than that, we would return any surplus. So if we could advance, please. All right, schedule event. So far, we have purchased the land. We did purchase the land a couple months ago for $1.5 million. We've started the site work. And actually, the total site work package is about $1.9 million, but we broke that down into two sections here. And so the first part is about 1.2, so that would be all the dirt work. That would not include the footers or the concrete pad, but it would include all the dirt work. So everything above the ground is improved in this, so we would have that completed here in the next couple of months. The initial site work permits were approved. We have East Tennessee Turf and Landscaping doing that work for us. As I mentioned, it's not the total site work, but right now, and I'm sure the commission has looked at this with the price of gas and some other things going up, it looks like it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $300,000 over right now. But with the other parts to the site work, we think we can absorb some of that in that. So right now, a little bit over, but we're not concerned about that so far. Number three, the state and city plan review. They're reviewing those projects right now. We have the state fire marshal looking at it at the state level. Have the city looking at some plans also. So we'll be finished that in May. It will go out to bid in June, and then we'll hope to award contracts in July. So, and then as that process starts, it'll be 18 months to 24 months, depending on supply chain issues that we may see. Okay. Here is the site, and we want to. This, of course, is the 33 acres that we're buying. So right here is the site. That black line is the power line, and just to orient you, this is 160, and this would be Martin Luther King. Now, I know that some of you have heard, and we have this same concern. This is Sulphur Springs, so the yellow line is Sulphur Springs. This blue line is that connecting road that goes through Gateway Service Park, and the city had some concerns about that, and we're concerned about it also. But part of the deal with this is that when we purchased the land, there was a covenant in there that we couldn't connect our road to this public road. And so we're still having some conversations with the city about that, about what that would be. But as of right now, when we purchased the land, the covenant was in there that this would not connect into this public road. Now, this is still a public road, individuals have the right to drive on that road anywhere that they want to, but just in the covenant, we purchased the land that we couldn't connect with that. So the concerns on that connector road, it would provide us access to coast to Sulphur Springs. And again, that would be right up this road here up to Sulphur Springs. The main concern, I think, is putting more traffic on 160 because that is a dangerous intersection right there. We all understand that. It is important to note that the entire zoning for Lincoln Elementary School is on this side of the street. So there's no need of going to that section. So we should have everybody would be coming out on Martin Luther and then going back to the city this way. We are not expecting any buses to go on 160 at all. And we can control some of this by simply having a right turn only lane and not having folks leave the school left turn. So we do think we can mitigate that. The main thing is that we are doing a traffic study, determining what kind of issues are possibly there. And then we'll make sure that it's safe. First thing that we always do is ensure safety, but we don't think that we will have very much traffic at all that would be coming out through here. And again, it's important to understand that we're talking about 30 minutes a day. It's 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon, and it's for 9 months out of the year. Now, of course, that's important time. But the other part that we would like to mention, while we may put, well, we'll place some additional traffic on Martin Luther King Boulevard here, but at the same time, we already have a problem on Lincoln as we come out into the main road. We have a horrible situation with that. So we're going to solve one problem. We may very well create some other problems down the road, but we do feel like we're aware of that. We are commissioning a traffic study, and we'll make sure that we take care of the issues. So right now, again, to take you through some pictures, this is the front part of the new Lincoln Elementary School. We wanted to have the high ceiling right here and covered walkway, plenty of glass here on the front to let in that natural light and have that attractive feature to that. Here is a section, so this would be Martin Luther King right here. This would be one entryway in for cars. This would be the entryway for bus or cars and buses, depending on which way we want to do that. But this would be the primary entry and exit ways that we can keep cars and buses separated. Here is the school itself. This is the gymnasium. This is the cafeteria. And what I've also done is here in the back, we have left a footprint for additional classrooms that with all the 2,000 homes that are expected to be built over the next several months, if we do experience rapid student enrollment growth, that we will be able to add on to these facilities with minimum kind of cost. And we are preparing things so that we've got the land, that we've got the footprint. We're oversizing some of the mechanical, some of those things just a little bit so that it would be an easy transition into that. Here's just a picture of the school itself. Front entryway is right here. Gym is here. Cafeteria is here. And again, as we tend to build schools anymore, we make sure that the gym and cafeteria are together, and then that way you use the cafeteria as that holding space. You can use it to sell concessions. Then you don't have to create those facilities and waste the space in other places. We can also lock this door down, and so 90% of the activities that we have, which would be located, I think someone's trying to get in the back, that we would have the gym and the cafeteria could be locked down very quickly and very easily with that. And then the classrooms are on this side and then on that side with the specialties being in the middle, and then also with the library. This is a bird's eye view of the school. Again, front entryway. We would have this area here would be our primary section, or grades 3 through 5, and this would be our primary section in here. Cafeteria is located there with the gym here. We'd have drop-offs over on this side and drop-offs over on this side to separate buses and cars. Again, just another view from the back end. This would be, again, the gymnasium, cafeteria. Kids would be dropped off here with an awning, and then have the awning also in the front just to get kids out of the rain. We've built a retaining wall right now just simply to hide some of the trash pickup and some of those kind of things, just as an aesthetic piece there. Front view again of the school. And the thing that we did do with this initially, the architects wanted some metal on the front to kind of add an aesthetic value to this. We kind of talked them out of that because the metal and elementary kids and being around a school, that metal doesn't hold up as well as the brick does. And so we wanted to make sure that whatever we had something that was easy to maintain, that was durable, and didn't have a lot of maintenance associated with it. So when we made those changes, we made sure that we had those kind of durable pieces to it while still making it look attractive. So although this is gray right now, that is not actually the color of it. As we go through, we'll pick out some colors, but it will kind of help accent the front area so that people will know it's the front. Again, a little bit of a version of it here. And you can't really see it well, but they had a huge pendulum right here that was coming down. Again, we took that out because you never want to put something like that up because every kid in the world thinks they can jump up and grab it. Plus, every bird in Hamlin County will find this as a resting place. And so, again, just some of the things as we have built schools before, and I'm sure as you have had some of that experience, you take some of this stuff out in the beginning, and then it doesn't cause you problems in the end. Again, this would be the front of the school with that high awning, and we do really like this natural light coming in so that when people come in, they feel welcome, they feel warm, those kind of things. This is the back side. This would be where we'd have another drop-off area, and that way kids would go straight into this door, and regardless if we wanted to hold them into the gym or into the auditorium, 20 feet in, we can separate them out and manage students very well there and hold them. Because we normally have about 30, 40 minutes before school starts. So as kids come in early, then we would have a place to hold them there, and then we'd be able to feed them breakfast and then be able to monitor them. So closing thoughts, construction has started. Actually, we've got the site works already going. So East Tennessee Landscape, they are out there working right now. The budget, as you are very much aware, there's an increased cost to everything right now. So we are monitoring that. We're watching that. We have done another independent cost estimate, and right now we're still feeling pretty good about where we are. Clearly, if prices continue to rise, we'll become increasingly worried. But if we need to, we've already talked to some degree with our board about repurposing some of that additional ESSER funding that we had, that $5 million that we had in for Lincoln Middle School. We feel this is the priority, and we told you that we would not be coming back for any additional funding, and so we may repurpose some of that money if we have a cost overrun on this one, and we can do so with those ESSER funds. We do have a couple more months left before we actually bid this out. It could get worse, or it could get better. We're hoping that we're seeing a little bit of decrease with some of the oil prices, which actually runs a lot of things. So maybe by the time we get ready to bid, that will kind of come down a little bit and would be more advantageous to us. We are going to have groundbreaking tentatively. We've got it set for the 29th at 4 o'clock, and that would be out on site. We will send you an invitation, and we would certainly love all of you that could be there to join us. We had it at 4 o'clock simply because we want our teachers and kids to have an opportunity to come over and participate with us. So if you can, we'll send you that formal invitation, but at that time, we'd love to see you. So, Mr. Chair, wanted to just give you a quick update and let you know where we were, and then to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Dr. Perry, it's on the traffic study that you're,
Yes, sir.
we all know the intersection can be very dangerous there, MLK and 160. Do we have an idea of the population that is zoned across 160, like Sulphur Springs area? Do we have an idea of that? I mean, they're crossing it anyway. I'm just curious
Yeah, I can get those numbers for you, and that would be some of the things we'll include in that traffic study. But now, there are no students that's, I believe that would be north of 160 if I got my direction. So there's no students that reside, because that is the dividing line. But I know some people would come up Sulphur Springs and take that right onto 160 and try to take the right that is not as bad as making that turn across. That's where we normally run into problems.
So it would be very advantageous to have that cut through in Gateway service.
There is no way that every time that you can add an additional access point, it makes it better. The only point is that we could not get that land without that covenant into it. And so, and as you very well know, because I know that we've looked for land too for other facilities, to find 33 acres that was relatively flat that had that access to all of the utilities, sewage, water, and electrical. We just could not find any other property that even came close to this. So with that, there was always compromises as you made that purchase. So
Thank you.
you're welcome, sir.
You know, there's, either way you look at it, of course, not going on to 160. I do that twice a week to go back out to Union Heights, and it is dangerous, extremely dangerous. And I'm very pleased to hear we're not going to use that. But even with the access road over to Sulphur Springs, that's going to put us right in the middle of West High traffic. And so we can follow Martin Luther King on around or cut through Jarnigan, and just stay completely away from West High. I don't know how the buses will route. I know they have to come back down Lincoln Heights at some point, but even with that, yeah, I think that would put us right in the middle of West High traffic. So take the Gateway Park out, I think we're still in great shape with this.
Well, and that's what of course, you never know, because actually one of the ways they build sidewalks now in new facilities on campuses is they don't build any sidewalks and they wait to see where the mud path is, and then they concrete that, because kids will make their own pathways. And so you don't really know until you do this, because people will find their own routes. But I think you are right, that if we bring it up through Sulphur Springs and go that way, that's where the mess is already located. And so if we bring them out, we kind of separate
Exactly.
that traffic just a little bit. So I don't think that's why we were not too concerned with the initial. But now we do understand the city. We know that it is a public road, that you can't block off public roads. Now, I will mention, part of the deal is that emergency vehicles could have access to that. So part of the deal was that if we need an ambulance, if we need a fire truck, if there were a crash or something on Martin Luther King that prevented us from getting in there, then they've got access to that. So, but you're going to put a lot of people in a very condensed area. The more you can spread those out, the better off you may be.
Was there any indication of the traffic study when it's going to be done?
Yeah, what I talked to Clint today, and Clint's actually negotiating with, he's talking to 3 firms. The problem, it is extremely busy right now, and to do a study of this size, everybody wants to do the big studies. The smaller studies, it is hard to get some folks to do it, but I have told him, and we spoke today about the need of getting that done, because we do need that information. And the city needs that information, so we want to make sure that we're good partners with the city too, because they've been good to us, and we want to make sure that we take care of their needs. Because, as every one of us knows, if you have to come out and go across that traffic to head back, that is a horrible sign. But we don't really see why anybody would need to do that. And we can control that in the afternoons by that right turn only lane. And then if you come in the morning, if you come down this way, that's not as dangerous there if you don't have to cut across those 2 lanes of traffic. So we think conceptually it'll bear out in a traffic study, but we'll see. But we are trying to accomplish that as soon as we can.
I'm just hoping there's still talk of putting that area twice a day on 160 to bring it down to 25 mile an hour. That's still my thought on that.
Now, there is a conversation, traffic study will kind of help us with this, about lowering some speed limits. I don't know about on 160 or not. That's out of my control. I'm responsible for most things. That's not one of them, but it would be something that the traffic study will help us with that, because now we do have, it's not probably the volume, but at Union Heights and Witt, we have an extremely bad intersection at both of those schools, and even at Westview now. That's not a great situation there either, but we experienced some problems early on with Westview about making that turn again when you have to go across both lanes of traffic. That's where we end up having some issues and problems.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr.
Mr. Chair,
Sherrill.
certainly do appreciate
you
the
sharing
opportunity. If you do have any questions, let us know. I'm going to leave your, thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman, the board of the Finance Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. Do we have any visitors that would like to address the committee?
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road, Morristown. For the Finance Committee, I want to talk to you about 4B, change order number 2. The jail project is killing us. Another change order, another $47,000 in additional costs to the taxpayers of Hamlin County. You commissioners who voted for the design swallowed the Britain Kool-Aid, and now the crazy $103 million jail just keeps going up. The $92 million contractor, the multi-million-dollar architect, and Mr. Pettit, the nearly $1 million project manager. Say, and there is more to come. Y'all complain about the cost in the last meeting and change, but you don't do anything. You want to ask about things, but you're not putting any action between the legs. Who is taking care of the county's business? It's certainly not some of you. For God's sakes, open up your eyes. Quit voting yes and letting things go. Start questioning expenses. If you don't care about your neighbors, care about your grandchildren and your children that are going to be paying for this multi-million-dollar nightmare. And that's what it is. You just don't have to believe me. I've done calculated it up. I'm 68 years old. My great-grandchildren will pay for that mess. And you should have done better. I don't care who you are. You should have done better. Some of you have stood and stood repeatedly. Thank you. You know exactly who you are, and I brag about you on COAG because I'm proud of you. The rest of you, I hope to God we get some replacements. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to address the committee?
Gwen Holden, 8150 West Point Drive. I want to talk about the same thing Edna talked about. I want to know why that you all don't vote not to do this, these change orders. They are killing us. Why are you not taking it and doing what the constituents want you to do? They voted you in to do a job for them, not for your buddies. I'm going to say it again. It just ain't right. It's just not right what y'all are doing to the taxpayers of this county. I feel sorry for you, I really do. And I also feel sorry for the taxpayers. I'm the one that stands up, and I talk about it. I don't know why other taxpayers don't want to talk about it. Yeah, I do too. They say to me, I say, why don't you want to go and tell them what you think? You're taxpayers. Well, it won't do no good. You know, that's probably right. I've been coming up here for 8 years. I've got some things changed, but very little. 8 years. 8 years. That's sad. One day it's really going to change.
Do we have anyone else who would like to address the committee?
My name is Tony, and I'm here to address pretty much the same situation. The last meeting that you all had, it was known to you that there was absolutely nothing you can do about a price increase. that there was going to be one today and there's going to be more and more to come. He already said that to you all. Where does it stop? Where do you draw the line? Because I know when I go to get something repaired and I get a list of extra things that I know don't need to be fixed or replaced, I question it. And if I got to pull the plug and bring it someplace else for a second opinion, that's what I do. You all are the second opinion. You all should be asking the questions. You all should not just say, yep, we're willing to pay, we're willing to pay, we're willing to pay. Because this guy behind me isn't going to stop charging you more and more money. He gets paid more the more the project is. Now he's asking for more money, for more architect, for drawings of sewer pipes and this and that. That stuff is their responsibility. If they didn't know about this stuff prior to this, that's their fault. You guys need to hold them accountable. That's what you guys are here for. You all are here to sit and be accountable for the citizens and to hold that accountability to whom it's necessary to hold it to. But I haven't heard that from any of you all of why we're continuing this project. It's going to get more expensive and more expensive as time goes along. I mean, we're very minimal into this project already, and it's already started. This stuff is going to continue for the next year, the next 2 years, till this project is done. The furniture is going to cost more. The carpet's going to end up costing more. They didn't figure out the square footage correctly. I mean, this is ridiculous, guys. This seriously is, lady, sorry. You know, it's something that you all need to think about. I know you all are smart people. And I know you wouldn't do this if you were building your own house or your own building. You wouldn't just keep throwing money at it, but it doesn't burn a hole in your all's pocket. So why would you care? Why would you care? Right? A drug dealer's out there selling drugs. He gets popped. His drugs get confiscated. All his money gets confiscated. His car gets confiscated. What does he do when he gets out of jail? He gets more drugs. That's what he does. He keeps feeding his bills. Doesn't matter if it's legit or not. It takes them to realize that they need to change their ways to make the positive impact. There isn't been a positive impact from y'all's commissioners. We need to make a positive impact. We need to ask questions. We need to hold liability. We need to say, why haven't these things been included? We paid you to do this from the beginning. And it hasn't got done right. So who do we hold accountable when something doesn't get done right? None of you are going to hold yourselves accountable. As long as your name is on that fancy plaque that says, hey, we built this, we voted on this, who cares? That means nothing to the citizens. Might boast all of your all's ego, but the opinion of what the citizens see when they look at that plaque is stupidity. It's egotistical. It's a waste of funds. Like they said, this jail is not going to be paid off in 12 years, Bobby. It's 12 years till they can get any more funding without a tax increase. But you will not pay off that jail and all the additional things that we have happening now and going to be happening in the future in 12 years. It's not going to happen. It's a ridiculous, off-the-wall time frame. You all need to think about where to proceed without just accepting. Because this guy and the other contractors, they make their money by change orders. That's how contractors make their money. They always look for a way to put something in to get a couple of extra bucks. And the worst thing you could say to them is no, but they tried. And they got their money somewhere else. You all need to start asking questions and start having some accountability and think about the citizens that aren't sitting in this room. 65,000 of them. You all are continuously putting a burden on them currently and in the next generations. Please be a little considerate.
Do we have anyone else that would like to address the committee?
Bonnie Bollington, 317 Stubblefield Street, Whitesburg. I'm not going to talk much about this nightmare that you all shoved down our throats. Haven't even started building yet, and already more money, more money. So, if we're going to have to keep more money for y'all's little Taj Mahal, you need to figure out ways that you can save money elsewhere. And in the March expenditures, just a couple of things. $589.50 for water. That's ridiculous. Why can't people bring their own water? They get paid good. They've got good jobs. Why can't they bring their own water? Why can't you put water fountains back in? People can walk out in the hallway and get a drink. But you can go to any trash can in the building and you see all these bottles, half full or even more. It's a waste. It's a drain on the taxpayers. And then you go on down, $690 to wash cars. $690. Why can the trustees at the jail not do this? They need to do something. Why can they not do this? You all are going to have to start figuring out ways to save money, to cut some corners. And these little bitty things, they add up. Many more times Mr. Pettit or anybody else coming up here needing more money. We can't stand it. We cannot pay for this. Y'all wanted it. You shoved it down our throats. You wouldn't allow us to vote on it. The taxpayers know we didn't have sense enough. So, do the right thing. Get this thing under control, and then go in your departments and figure out ways that you can save a little bit of money. Personally, I don't like paying for even one bottle of water that's only half used and the rest thrown in the trash. If people are going to be that wasteful, they don't deserve water. They sure don't deserve for the taxpayers to pay for it. Thank you.
Do you have anyone else that would like to address the committee?
Scotty Long, Hamilton County Trustee's Office. I live at 3075 Misty Hill Lane. Part of what I want to speak to you about is on the agenda, Chairman, about our 2020 rollover taxes that we have turned over to the Chancellor Court for collection. If you see that down at the bottom, I left a handout on everybody's desk, but I think it's in your booklet as well. But, proud to say that we're only turning over $405,000, which actually brings us to a 98.66% collection on our 2020 taxes. Also give you some other good information. We're at 95% on our 21 collection, our current tax year. We're at 99.66 on 2017, 99.6 on 2018, 99.13 on 2019, and we will currently in August be selling 2018 properties that are in the rears on tax collection. So these numbers are, I'm proud of these numbers because when they took office, they were about 94, 95% collected. So you see, we're actually collecting their money. Not a very small amount that we're actually turning over. And one other agenda item, or it's not an agenda item here, public speaking. I had the privilege to eat with a lady here just last week, another trustee in another county, and they want to talk about jails and jail building. You guys can pass some of this out. I put a packet of this on your desk. Sullivan County's breaking ground on a 500-bed annex. Annex only in that word, if you understand. It's bed facilities. Then it could be a, there's some rooms in here for some treatment, medical facilities. Other than that, it's strictly just an annex of beds, 500 beds. It's a $96 million project. All right. They're using the pod concept that you all also have chosen and used, which is a very positive it's, and they're using solid steel manufactured jails. It's a 2-story level building, gentlemen, multi-level facility. It also has radial design concept in it, the same thing that's going right over here, which they speak of as being one of the safest concepts. So I just wanted to pass that along to you that, just for your own information so that you know, these things do cost and they are tough decisions that you have to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Doug. Anyone else that would like to address the committee? Seeing none, in your packets in recurring business, you've had the chance to review the expenditure reports. Do we have a motion to accept the checks as moved? Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. In old business, we have real estate consulting agreement with LaBelle Commercial Realty, and that is no action necessary. In item 4A, Justice Center project, Mr. Pettit, project manager for Burwell Construction Company.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say a couple of things before Mr. Pettit gets up here, and just some inaccuracies and misconceptions that were presented during public comment I just want to address. And one is comments by Mr. Struzzulo about half of what he said was inaccurate, and the other half was personal opinion. As far as Burwell Construction Company, they don't make any more money if this project costs more money. Burwell is our representative. They've gone through all the change orders. They've gone through extensive discussions before a change order ever hits paper and comes before you guys. And Mr. Pettit has done an excellent job representing Hamilton County with this project. And we have saved money because of the work that he and his company have done. So there is no money going into Burwell's pocket from these change orders. That is a misstatement.
So they don't get paid back?
And then, no, sir. we
No.
don't. And so I just wanted to clarify the role of Burwell in this process. And you have the architect, which is Mosley. You have the contractor, which is Blaine, and then you have the project manager, which is Mosley, and they have different roles, but they all work together, and that's why we're going to have a super project when things are done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burwell. Mr. Pettit?
Do we not need to take action on 3A?
No action is necessary because we've already done that the other night.
Huh?
Special call.
Oh, okay, that's right. Sorry,
That's right.
we referred that. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Pettit?
Chairman, I'm here to discuss a couple of 3 items, but the first one that's on your list is the change order. And that's the deal. That's actually more pressure on me than the previous comments about making sure we do a good job. And change orders are tough. Nobody likes change orders. It's a misconception if a general contractor tells you you're not got the right general contractor who's trying to make money off change orders. He's just trying to get the job done expediently, and then things happen. And that's not a good reason to say things happen. I'm here to try to find out why they happen and how we try to address them. So, without further comment on that, we'll discuss the change order. This is change order number 2. And then this change order is for 2 items, and both of these items are unknown items that they encountered. Thank you. They said the clicker didn't work.
It does.
So the first item in the change order, and you'll see this PCO number 2 up here is a pending change. So the contractor wrote an RFI, which is a request for information, said, hey, we're needing to put in these utility poles the new utility poles to service the existing Justice Center, the jail back there. And then when they met extensively with Marshtown Utility Systems, and they discovered that there is a water line that wasn't on any drawing that feeds Helen Ross McNabb. So they asked the question and said, we're kind of in a dangerous situation here. We've got to get these utility poles scheduled, moved. They came out to find out that that line was in conflict, and we asked them to proceed on a time and material basis, which was the most, frankly, most economical way to do it and keep up with their time and their equipment and lists, and that's broken down within the change order. And this allowed the project to move. The dangerous situation was the grade was changing so much that dump trucks were hitting the existing power poles, and it created an accident. So the safe thing to do is try to get this done and resolved as quickly as possible. So that's item number one. That's $11,366 on the PCL number 2. So potential change order number 11 is the RFI Power and Communication Ruffians. And that'll be an ugly purple drawing that I drew. So it's the next slide, yeah. Thank you. So this original drawing was supposed to change the service feed, electrical service feed, into the existing jail. This is still on the same utility line we're talking about. But we were supposed to be able to pull out cable, electrical power cable, and replace that power cable with new power cable. And then the discussion ensued again with Marshtown Utility Services, and AT&T got involved too, because AT&T had to have a pathway into the existing jail and a 911 center and so forth. So it was determined that the most prudent way of getting these lines in was to actually construct a concrete encased pathway into the existing jail. And this, there's a breakdown in here about cost. This was proposed prior to doing the work. This work's not complete yet, but they have done a little bit of drilling on the existing pad to allow for the conduits to come up. But now it's going to be fed underneath the existing paving here, and it's a new concrete pathway in with 3 electrical conduits and 2 AT&T communication lines coming in. And that was $35,506. I don't have to change glasses here if I'm not careful. So those are the 2 change orders for the general contractor. Any questions that I may answer? Yes?
So what you're saying with these change orders, it has nothing to do with the structure we're building, whether we're building a mega jail or we build a wagon wheel, we still would have had to have done this.
Only because that you're changing the grade so much, you had
Right.
in the scope of the work already was relocating these power lines. It's got new power poles coming down the street and turning back up into Esco Way. That was in the job already, and then because they had to be a way of feeding the existing facility. So yes, short answer is yes.
Thank you.
And it was unknown how to feed them. We didn't realize there's all kinds of discussions on this about is the generator big enough to, if they were to pull these cables out and couldn't get them connected for a day or a day and a half, could the existing generator be, is it big enough to operate the jail? No, it's not. So it's just there for some emergency use if power fails. So that, other reasons too, but that was the main thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I got one, if I can back up just a minute ago. Scotty just come up and said that Summerlin County Jail is 99 million, am I correct? You said that? 96 million. And basically, in your opinion, do you think we're getting a real good deal on this complete jail system?
Yes.
There you go.
We are so fortunate that we did this thing before March, this March.
Right.
Hit another just unbelievable inflation rate in March in the construction industry. So it's really, I've never seen anything like it, so.
Mr. Pettit, on that one change order with the communication, the power and the communication rough-ins, part of that you said was AT&T?
What, all we provided there was a pathway in for their three
Sure.
they got 2 conduits into the existing
Okay,
facility.
so we're absorbing conduit for AT&T.
AT&T already has ways into that jail that conduit, we had to dig.
It's got to be changed, so it's our business.
That necessarily did not have to be changed, but conduit, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's,
No.
in the scheme of things,
No,
it's best to feed it underneath there, that way something
Okay.
doesn't get hung up.
Well, that makes more sense because I was thinking they're competitive and, you know, they need to take care of their own in that market, but,
Yeah, but this is this is basically, the money's in the excavation and the backfill and the pouring of the concrete.
okay.
Duct bank,
Yes, sir.
so it's a duct bank, we got 3 in there for the power, and we just added 2 more for AT&T.
I understood.
Mr. Pettit, why are these things not foreseen in the planning process?
Specifically speaking here, it was directed that we were to refeed into the existing conduit. Now, there's other things here that we were trying to resolve. The conduit wasn't shown exactly accurate. When they first started, that's not this part of this issue. But then we started, there was a danger of pulling that out and it getting hung up. Now, it might have worked, but if it did not work, we would have had to figure out where to put cellmates and stuff like that. This is prudent. So to answer your question, it was just hard to anticipate that by the designer. Didn't know that it wasn't the generator. I don't know why the generator's not big enough to service it as a full outage for a period of time, but it's just emergency things. So we asked those questions. Hey, is this going to work like this? Marshtown Utility offered the biggest concern to begin with. Your contractor, our contractor, followed through and was concerned with it too. If something gets hung up and you can't get power on this thing for a day, day and a half, what happens? And anytime you can get into the ground with your service, you're better off. So in the long run, you ought to be in good shape with these conduits coming in. That way you can just go and land your wires on it. So tell you why we just didn't know about the size of the generator in the existing jail, or the contractor did not, and didn't know the concerns that Marshtown Utilities would have about trying to feed that through an existing.
I can actually add to that, working with Marshtown Utilities, it's better to plan this ahead than down the road and have to replace electrical or communication after everything's done, and then you're busting concrete or digging a new path. So the foresight of laying the extra conduit and doing this is actually long-term the best bet.
Yeah, I can understand that. The thing that I don't understand is why those things were not taken into consideration with
Understood.
architectural drawings.
And
And
not
that's,
to take up for him, I think he was just saying that the path changed.
yeah.
Yeah, well, they were just concerned that if you're trying to pull that distance in old conduit.
Yeah.
So if something's in there locked together, frozen together, you would be without service more than you wanted to be.
And that would be like 45-year-old.
Yeah, you probably know better than I am. I'm not that old myself.
77, it's old stuff.
Yeah.
It's gonna
so that-
crack and.
Yeah. This was developed, this idea was developed in a meeting with Marshtown Utility Services, being the lead on it. Blaine had their charges. They've got to replace this utility line quickly, so allow them to proceed with their grade work.
Well, obviously, to me, this one makes more sense than the first one, where we're not understanding why the foundation was not calculated correctly. But why, I guess, help me understand why we have to make those changes, and the change order falls on us when we had bid that to start with.
I thought a lot about that after I answered the question the last time on that situation. And you don't necessarily have to do that, you're kind of drawing the line in the sand, and sometimes it needs to be drawn. You would be responsible, as I'm an owner's rep, we would be responsible for the additional conduit, concrete, excavation and stuff that happened in that change. We're talking about change order number 1 now. We'd be responsible for that cost. Now it'd be hard to determine what that cost is because now you're doing it as a change order, not in the competitive bid. Okay, so there's that maybe a difference that we would be responsible for, but the owner would be responsible for the material and the rebar, whether, and I'm not an attorney, but again, I want to throw that out, unjust enrichment. In fact, if you said, okay, we're not paying for it, your engineer's saying you need it, put it in, but I'm not paying for it, okay? Then I've got enriched by something that the architect or the contractor had to do, and frankly, this may be on the architect rather than the contractor. They had to do it. We had the benefit of it. In the end, the law usually says it's an unjust enrichment. We have to pay for it, us being the owner, because we benefited for the extra materials. And there's arguments and negotiations and stuff like that. And then I would suggest that if these really pile up, we have a meeting with our designer and just say, okay, we've noted this, okay? And then we're going to have a couple of more with a $92 million job. This is not the last time I'm coming to you with change orders. I'll be here till we at least go that way. I'll probably be here every month because there's a lot of things we're fixing to talk about design that's changing. We try to keep them small and reasonable, but in the end, there's going to be 2 or 3, hopefully that's about it, that will get us in the uproar, ruffle our feathers. And I think it's fair to talk to the designer. Now, of note, the designer did not charge us for redesign. He's already put his best foot forward when he redesigned the building, trying to save some money from April to September. That was not a good outcome anyway, but he's in a good working relationship with us. But if you wanted to, as a board, as a committee, just note those and say, we need to discuss these, and maybe the appropriate time is at 25% complete, 50% complete, and visit again at 75%. And if things pile up, we really go to them and talk to them about errors and omissions insurance and seeing where we're going.
Well, this still falls into the contingency proportion, right? Even though we don't want to spend that if we don't have to.
We don't want to spend it all at once.
No, we don't. We don't want to spend any of it. But the thing it is, it still falls into that, correct? All the material and everything.
Yes. But there's other things that's got to be taken care of there too. We've already expended our unsuitable soils. I'm not here to be Debbie Downer, but we've already expended our unsuitable soils allowance. We're the first micro piles we dug were the real long micro piles, and we knew that, but we had one go 113 feet. We said the average would be about 45 feet. Okay? Now they've now reached the lower bench. We get a log every week. An independent guy's tracking that for us, Geoservices, and they've shortened up quite a bit. So they're running 30, 33 feet, stuff like that. So if I showed you that first log, we'd all be scared to death. And there's some concern because there's risk there. We don't know what's below us at 40 feet deep, whether it's a cave or something like that. And then there's a grout volume that they fill those things up. And then they had concerns in the beginning about overages because they dumped a lot of grout and it just went into a cave. And they're trying methods of slowing that down, but that's going to hit our contingency somewhat if it doesn't average out all the way out. So we got to conserve our contingency as best we can, protect it. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of with Randy. Somebody missed this. This change we got, it wasn't us, it wasn't the commission that missed it. It was the architect that missed it. And looking at your drawing, I don't know why you'd go all underneath. Why didn't you go down the street and come in the other way? I mean, I would never go under a building with a power line.
On this drawing, it was supposed to it was supposed to go into the existing conduit, okay? Plus AT&T's hitting the building.
And they couldn't do that?
Overhead. They could go overhead, but they were worried about how this was supposed to be done originally, was to pull that conduit, electrical cable out of the existing conduit and put new cable in it. And then
For
you're-
both the old Justice Center plus the new one?
This is just serving the old existing Justice.
Just the old?
This is serving the feed into the old one. And it's just a matter of getting the feed in there.
We've looked at this thing for years. We should
And
have
it's
that
actually
down.
not the cable itself, it is actually drilling to get the cable up out of the ground on the existing generator and the duct bank and the conduit, the new stuff. So the cable's not included in it. So it's better. And,
Wasn't it-
and the cost is, it sounds like, you know, it's half of a new Telsa. Somebody's going to tell you go buy a new car. But anyway, it's a reasonable cost for what we got.
Not too reasonable. Not when you keep coming
Not
back.
if you weren't counting on it. That's
You're gonna
right.
be here a month from now.
But
It's like if it's the water line. A lot of times you're better off just to shut that water line off and run you a new one. I can't
what
see
they-
why you,
that's basically
why you
what they
can't
did
do
in the
this
first
on this
part.
electrical. Just leave
That's
that one
basically
there,
what this
put your
first
new
one
in.
is.
Cheaper.
Yeah. And that's what we did. We ran a new water line, but this is for electrical.
Now you gotta go through some concrete, do some boring.
Up at the top of that drawing, they have to go and get those conduits up through the existing concrete. But that's included in here. Any other questions?
Item C, are you going to discuss that, or is that? Go ahead and vote for each one. Okay. Okay.
I'll make a motion, we pass it.
Got a motion to accept it. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. It's item 4A. Item 4B, the change order, second change order. Do we have a motion for approval of the second change order of $35,000?
So moved.
Got a acceptance, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4C, the amendment for additional design services.
Yeah, some of this is more pleasant to talk about, some of this is the same old story. But this is for the design side, this is for the designers. So, I keep a sheet and I call it pits, because a lot of this stuff is the pits, because we gotta spend money on it. But anyway, this is on our pit sheet, and some of it's stagnated until we get this approved. This is for the civil engineer to hit some additional things that, a few of them, 2 of them we've requested, and the rest of them are kind of like, we gotta solve some problems that we found on site. So the first one here that we got on the screen is when we changed the existing Hamlin County Justice Center's function, that's what you're anticipating to do, and you're gonna have maybe some juvenile court or something like that. We thought that we could keep that circle drive in, and that's, I've really got to do a better job on my design. That's that one, I'm not the designer. But that blue arc, wavy arc, is going to be the proposed circle drive there. The architect basically, the contractor, Blaine, we asked them, what would that cost if we wanted to do that? And they took a look at their grades, considered where the dog's buried and everything, and they said it would be 0. Then we started looking at the ramp. So that ramp needs to be ADA compliant. It needs to be brought up to code. So I put in there for their cost, $0 to $25,000. Right now, they say 0, but we got to do something with the ramps and a little bit of utilities up there where it says relocate, right, that's north of that relocated flagpole. So this is just design only, and this is, unlike the other couple of things, this is an optional thing that we can look at. And the general contractor said it's going to be 0. I said it could be $25,000 time we get it all done. And then the architect is requesting, civil engineer through the architect, is requesting $4,800 for the design. So that ought to be covered in the $25,000 that I said, hopefully. Blaine has not indicated that it wouldn't be more than 0 so far. If we can attack that ADA ramp. So that's one item. Any questions on that one while we got it up there? Yes, sir.
What's the functional design of having a circle drive anyway?
Well, right now, the way it's designed is that you have 2 handicap spots, 1 van accessible, and 2 other spots in front. And that's all the neat drawing that you're looking at in a sidewalk. Okay? You would still keep some of that, but this allows you to drop off, and you would also, you'd change them from handicap to standard parking. Because right now, your existing handicap is going to be located up toward the building. It's got to be designed, but it'll be up toward the building closer to the ramp, to the existing ADA ramp. So this allows still just a drive-through and drop-off rather than pulling in and dead-ending into the parking spaces there and then pulling back out the other way.
Why not drop off and then go get your parking place without circling the building?
This is a request and.
Look, let me show you a couple of things. All right, this area right here, and I'll do it over here now. This area, right, if you look at this whole thing, here's the current entrance to the Justice Center right here. All right, right here's the current entrance to the Justice Center. Now, what happened in the plans, in the original plan that we bid last April, okay, we were having 3 courtrooms, and juvenile court was going into the new building. Okay, we were doing away with that circle drive. So if you take away the blue lines, there's no circle drive anymore. We were doing away with it. This was handicap parking right here with a couple of places right there. Handicap parking and a couple of places there. So there was no circle drive. Now, when we chose to shell in that 3rd courtroom, that changed the function of the Justice Center in that we were going to have juvenile court, or basically General Sessions 2 and juvenile court in the existing building. So we needed to maintain that circle drive. But right now, the circle drive, well, not now, but the original circle drive was out here. And so we need to redesign and reconstruct that circle drive, and that's what we're doing here. And the cost that's in this design change is for the design of that work. And what Tony's telling you is Blaine's saying that they can do it, for nothing. But we're going on the worst case scenario. It's going to be $25,000. So that's what this is all about. Is in the original plan bid last April when we were moving all the courts to the new building, there wasn't going to be a circle drive, and that's what was bid. Okay, that was bid in April, and it was bid in October. And so what we're having to do is put that circle drive back in. That's what this is about.
But to me, that's a change order. I get that. I understand how that is. I don't see how the other things are. And I guess that's what I'm not clear on even yet. It seems like we didn't pay an architect to come in and not do this or do this, did we? That wasn't part of his existing drawing, was it?
It was not.
So this is like what you would call a change order.
This is a request to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that's more fun to talk about.
Well, it's more logical because it is a change that we're doing because we've changed the way that we were planning on using this building.
Correct. So,
It's our change, not, yeah, there ain't no change.
Let's go back to the, yeah, I understand that, and they're a lot easier to talk about. Let's go back to the $11,000 water issue, where we had a pole going in, couldn't move that pole. That had to happen.
Yes. No, that makes sense too.
Okay, so why, it all goes back to why did the engineer not figure the embedment of the micropiles correctly?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, agree.
That's the ones you ought to try to set aside, and I'll be happy to do that for you.
And at
I'll
what
keep
point?
track of it on a pitch sheet, Excel
Okay,
spreadsheet.
but at what point do we do that? Because
I think you have it at 25% complete. Let's have a discussion with our architect and air it out.
Yeah.
And I've volunteered to, and I don't know whether you want to mention that or not, I've volunteered for a work session to help us kind of, because I'm going to be in here until we start going up. I'm going to be in here every month explaining some that we like, explaining some we understand, and there's going to be a few of them holy cow, I don't understand at all. And that's the bad part about construction. So I don't have a good reason why, but I do think you set them aside for discussion. It's clearly not the contractor's fault, because they figured what was on the drawing. Now, there'll be some issues there, and we fought back over, there's one out there that was on my pits sheet, that's project issues tracking pits. It was one on there, it was $100-something thousand, it got denied. Said the information's there, we're not entertaining that as a change order. So, there's stuff like that going on anyway in these meetings. Number 2. Any more questions on the entrance? So that, the civil engineer wants, and there's more, there's where's the pointer part? I thought that was it is. That's almost warmed up. So there's some utilities here. Where they've looked at, there's some utilities coming from a baseball field hitting this center here. They've looked at that, that's going to work, but there's going to be some drainage here that we have to take, and that's part of that design too. Hopefully that don't get out of hand. But the way the grades would stay the same and keep, we think that's $0 to $25,000 that we'll see from the contractor once it gets designed. So this is for the design. All right, and the next slide. Okay, this is one of these that we're still kind of working through. And they found, Blaine found this early on. We had to dig this retention pond right here to take care of our storm water. Tennessee Department of Erosion Control makes us retain our storm water. So there's this utility pipe coming through here. And do I need to go back and forth? So there's a storm line going through here. You can see how nervous I am with this. This is the detention pond that we're constructing right here. When they went to find this detention pond, is there a photograph in the next slide? We can go back and forth. So here is the that they found a sewer line coming out of Helen Ross McNabb. Okay, it went straight through the detention pond. It got exposed. We've got to relocate it. So if we can go back. So what we're going to try to do is this, the green line. It's not a good aim. I'm not going to be turkey hunt shooting here. All right. So here's the proposed reroute. Right now it goes through here. You can kind of see it going through here. And it's actually exposed. So here's the green line. That's the proposed sewer line. It's going to hit a manhole here. It's in a junction. It got exposed when they dug the pond. So we got to reroute that. So what our civil engineer is requesting additional services for engineering on that of $5,400 to redesign that. So that's what that $5,400 is. He went ahead and highlighted some other jail, we looked at options of going this way and trying to get easements down through here. It wouldn't flow back this way, even though that one's very deep. So the best option that we felt, and these are meetings and meetings and meetings, but the best option we felt is to go this way. Get that. So that's that one. Go back to the photograph now. And this kind of shows the existing water line here. This is kind of the new construction. There's going to be a new manhole here. And we're going to try to come back around this berm and hit it. Here's the manhole. Here's the berm that the proposed sewer will come in and hit that. So we will see some cost coming from the contracting side too, once it's designed to have a chance to price it. An unknown condition, they didn't know how deep it was. Nothing. So.
The sewer line was on these drawings.
No. Now, there was a pipe there that was exposed off our property. And there's a lot of other tricky things here that we're trying to work through about right-of-way and easements and stuff like that. But this actually helps get the discussion started of resolving that.
So you say that red line's coming from Helen Ross McNabb?
Yes.
Is that a viable line? Is that a good line?
Right now, it's working. It's
I mean, it's
not on
working.
any records. It's kind of like Helen Ross McNabb's sewer, and I don't know when it was put in, but it went across private property for both our property, county, and our neighbor. So that's how come we're talking about maybe an easement here to get this, what he calls a doghouse mound hole right here on a drainage easement.
Well, my concern was the fact that if it's in bad shape, Helen Ross McNabb needs to replace that, correct? If it was in bad shape.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's functioning now.
Okay.
So it's functioning now. When we dug that retention pond, we've exposed it even further. Go to the drawing, back up. Thank you.
From the manhole, Tim, from just to address your issue about maintenance, okay, and going forward, is, all right, now here's the manhole that the new line will intersect with, and Tony, you correct me if I'm wrong, but then it runs to a manhole here. Correct. All right, and so Morristown Utilities is going to assume maintenance responsibilities for this.
Okay.
Okay. So that's gonna be part of their system, and they're going to take care of the maintenance.
Okay.
And it's gravity flow, so there's no pumps or electrical to power the pumps, or this is the most economical way out to do that. Because we've looked at going to north off the page and
Not sure.
other things, so. Sewer runs downhill is the best, rather than macerate up and pump it uphill, is better off. So that's what this is what this $5,400 is.
Is that wastewater only, or is that stormwater as well?
No, that's just waste.
Wastewater.
Your storm comes off that blue line, and then there's another blue line coming in, and it hits the pond we talked about right here.
Right, the retention pond, okay.
Retention pond, and it outflows down this easement. There's the pond, then it outflows out this easement.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I got a couple more slides here, sorry.
All right.
Next. So, this is another one of those, Mr. DeBoard, that, like, okay, this is a change order. So, The mayor made a business deal here where we allowed Blaine to move into the job site office right here. And in turn, they built us a temporary parking lot. If you go out there, you'll see it south of the office. There's temporary parking. So, parking's at a premium, especially on certain days you can't even park around this place. So now we're discussing possibly making that temporary parking permanent parking. So what we want to do is at least talk about the design for that, and then we can request it now with this contractor or later with another contractor, but you'll have your design. So that is $4,800, and it basically involves some storm sewer calculations, making sure it functions correctly when and if it gets built.
And when you say a temporary parking lot, is that a gravel lot? What is that?
It's a gravel lot right now, and there's two of them. There's two of them. They got that for free.
Yeah, there's this one right here that connects with the lower lot, and it's part of the plan. It's gonna be finished. It's part of the contract, okay? Then this right here, the upper one, which connects to the parking lot up on the hill, okay? That's the gravel lot that we negotiated with Blaine to swap out use of the house. They gravelled it all in and moved the dirt and all that. And so that's what we're having designed. And then we can decide later whether to make that permanent. But like Tony said, parking's at a premium. And if we had to make the decision today, I would recommend that we finish that parking. But we need the design first, because there's some utilities.
So in the design of that upper parking lot, you may start all over again? I mean, didn't that have gravel on it?
It does, no, that would be your base, yeah. So a lot of it's done.
That would probably need to be maintained. I wouldn't recommend trying to finish until you get way to the end of the job, but I would keep the base gravel there. And
Well,
that
is this
allows everybody to be a temporary parking lot until it
Is
closes
this a
in.
firm design fee, or is it negotiable?
I've been working on this for a while, so I can ask.
Well, you know,
We can, I mean,
if it's
again,
not gonna take much, why is it costing?
well,
so
no,
much?
there is, wrapped up with this is there's a fire line that has to be kind of addressed that goes between the two. We have to slide the parking lot that's here, kind of slide it to the north to allow this fire line to stay in place. Or the other option was to build a pretty substantial retaining wall here that comes with the design, but there's a pretty substantial retaining wall that may be there.
Okay.
There's more to it than just that, but the
Okay.
design, and then there's a utility storm that'll come out of the corner of this temporary parking lot that he'll throw into the design. It's not throwing anything in, but he'll design that to tie into the existing line. So there's some utilities that weren't exactly located, and we have to move some things around, and that's part of this too.
Okay.
Tony, what's the stormwater issue? What will it be on that temporary parking? Stormwater runoff.
So it'll collect in the southeast corner in the catch basin, and then come out and catch another drain pipe into this lower that's already in our contract price. It's just connecting the top to the lower catch basin.
That's going down by the old jail
Yeah,
now.
and then it all ends up into the
going
detention
down by the
pond we
jail.
talked about a minute ago.
Yeah. The old justice.
Yeah, but that's part of his design cost, is to do all those calculations.
That $4,800 is nothing for a parking lot that size.
That's just the design.
Oh, hell, well. Yeah. I mean, it's already done. What do you got to design?
Oh, you gotta pave it. Well, you gotta
You got to design something already level. You done that in your construction.
We got the grading done, we got that done, we got to get rid of the stormwater. And then you also have to shift the one that's in the drawings, you have to shift it north to allow that fire line to stay in place. If we had to relocate the fire line, it's a lot more money.
That's just design.
That's
Pretty.
all we're talking about right here is
That is a
additional
stout,
design.
that's a pretty stout design.
Yep,
Yes.
So civil, it's all civil engineering?
yes.
Still high.
This is through Mosley, but it's through civil engineering.
Because we're gonna have to fix the parking lot anyway. That's why we bought the property, to put more parking up there. That's why I bought those houses and bought that land to put
Right.
parking on.
So is that the only option that we've got, is to do it through Mosley, or can we?
But I think it's the most economical way because they're already engaged in it. They'd have to take their design because you got to shift that one parking lot or we got to take off that fire line. That fire line can't stay.
If we use
Where
someone
we
else,
found
we'd
it.
have to put it out to bid, wouldn't we?
This one is not holding them up, but I still, this is, you can't find a civil engineer to get onto it right away anyway, so you'd have to postpone it.
McGill Associates is the civil engineering firm.
McGill said-
That Mosley hired.
Okay.
They're in East Tennessee currently.
Okay.
And that's who, that's.
And he's been very engaged in all this. That it for me? The other two are the water line and the electrical feed for the 911 center, just kind of getting the drawings cleaned up. So any questions about that? Any other questions about that?
Well, one real quick, Bill, if we're doing, 911's gonna move down to the health department, why are we redoing their electrical?
So they can continue operating.
So that wasn't planned in the original plans, is to keep them operating?
Which one? Rerouting electrical feed?
Yeah.
That's the one we talked about, that's Blaine's change order. That's part of that, reroute that electrical feed, so.
That got something to do with the transformer they took out with the dump truck middle of the month over there?
Probably, yeah. Feeding it with a new reroute.
What was that? I'm not aware.
They took out a transformer over there on the 18th, dump truck, caught a line, took out a transformer.
Oh, you're talking about the dump truck that hit the line?
Yeah.
That's the one we were talking about, it's unsafe.
Yeah, and then we're having to do the extra
No, that has
911.
nothing to do with this. Blaine will fix that. Or incur, if there's cost incurred, Blaine will.
I understand fixing this, but that's why we're redesigning all that, isn't it?
No, this is the, go back to that purple drawing with the change order. This is the feeding back into the building.
I understand, but I'm thinking, I thought you said that because the grade change and
The grade,
things may hit it.
Yeah, that's right.
Trucks may hit it.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. So, and they did hit it, so.
Yeah, it did.
And they've hit water lines and.
Yeah,
They're trying to keep peace with their neighbors, Helen Ross McNabb, and that's, sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not, so. Okay.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? If not, do we have a motion to accept this proposal?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition?
No.
Motion carries. Okay, item 4D, bid tabulation 2022-08, demolition and clearing of Hamlin County property. Mayor Britton?
In your packet is a bid tab for the results of the bid we did for the demolition of the maintenance house across the street. We had one bid returned we had a total of 3 companies that inquired and submitted questions for the project. And when we only had 1 return bid, I called those companies and asked them why. I was really doing a quality control check on our purchasing process, and because of concern we're not getting more response. One of the persons who, or companies that I contacted had a bid prepared, and they thought the deadline was Friday instead of Wednesday. So they missed the date. And bid opening was on Wednesday. And they didn't respond in time. And the other contractor had a conflict with another job. So, and then I talked to them, or one of them asked about the price that we got, which is $29,967. He said, yeah, that's competitive. Mine would have been right around there. So I think we've got a good price, and even though we only have 1 bid, and we had interest in the project, we just had, company mess up. So we recommend that we accept this bid for the demolition of the building.
Do we have a motion
Make that
to?
motion, we accept the bid.
Got a motion to accept the bid. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4E, this will be the boat dock lease agreement between Hamlin County and Hamlin Dock Incorporated. Mayor Britton?
I'll start the conversation and ask Mr. Capps to comment if I get off course any. There's 2 documents. There's 2 documents that we're asking you to vote on and act on. And the first is the second amendment to the lease of the boat dock to Hamlin County, or Hamlin Dock Incorporated. And what this lease does, if you look on page 1, item number 3, it extends the lease to 2042. So it goes from 2030 to 2042, and that's at the request of the new operators. They wanted a 20-year lease, and we'll get to that in a second. Then the second change is on page 2, top paragraph, is that the monthly lease payments will increase effective May the 1st to $1,100 for in-season and $700 out of season. And then the lease amounts will, according to this lease amendment, will change every 5 years following that. Item number 2 is the mobile home that we discussed last month. It puts a 90-day time frame in moving the mobile home, which is on their property and they own it, or the property that they lease and they own it. So we're asking them to move it in 90 days. And then in BDOC, in paragraph number 3, BDOC, there's 2 parts of BDOC, and in discussions with the new operators, there's 2 portions of BDOC. One that they're going to remove, and we're giving them 4 months or 120 days to do that. And another part of BDOC, which is going to be renovated and kept and used and rented out, and we're asking them to have that renovated completely in 18 months. And for them, the sooner the better, so they can generate revenue off of it. And so we included that in our conversation. So, Mr. Capps, anything else? So this is the second amendment. Now, the parties in this amendment are Satterfield and Conley, the current leaseholders, and the county. So that's who this document is between. And then the second document is the lease assignment to the new operators, Richie Bear, Mike Boyd, and they're here this evening. And so they understand, basically what's happening is the current operators are assigning this lease to the new operators with the same requirements, and this document will be signed by Bear and Boyd, the county, and the current leaseholder.
So we will need to vote these separately, and then we should have that as E1 and E2? Is that how you want that?
We can do that, and that would happen in the calendar and rules, yeah. We redo that for the
Just a E1
E1 and E2.
one and E2, that way.
into.
Yeah.
I move that we approve lease one.
Have a motion to accept lease 1.
Second.
We got a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Moving on to the lease assignment, which is B, E2. Do we have a motion to approve?
moved.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4F, Resolution 22, a resolution of County Commission of Hamilton County, Tennessee, authorizing the 2022 AAA Tennessee Community Grant application. Mayor Brennan?
AAA, the AAA Auto folks offer some community grants from time to time, and we're just asking for permission to apply for a $3,500 grant to buy grills and picnic tables for Cherokee Park.
Motion to approve.
You got a motion? Do we have a second? We got a motion and a second. What match? No match complete?
There is no match.
Okay.
There is no match.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G, Federal Year 22, Homeland Security Grant. Mayor Brennan?
This is a grant that we apply for and receive every year through District 2 Homeland Security in the state of Tennessee and TEMA and FEMA, and we're asking for permission to apply for the FY22 grant, $22,000. It's 100% funded.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4H, these are the budget amendments. 4H1, Fund 101, Register of Deeds for $5,800. That's an increase on office supplies.
I'll stand in for Finance Director Ann Bryant Hirsch. She's not feeling well tonight. This is a budget amendment that would allow or give Register of Deeds Jim Clausen money to buy 2 more plaque cabinets. He bought some. They've worked out well. He wants to add 2 more, and he's doing it within funding, within his budget.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Motion carries. Item 4H2, this is actually for 151, Fund 151, debt service of $20,000. Mayor Brennan?
What this is, Mr. Chairman, is this is a good thing. What this reflects is that we're collecting additional revenue in debt service. And so you're increasing trustees' commission on the expense side, and what trustees' commission is basically a percentage of the money that you collect that the trustee's office collects and turns over to the general fund is basically what happens. And then so we're increasing that on the expense side in the debt service fund and increasing the revenue side so they offset.
Do you have a motion?
Make a motion.
Got a motion, second? Second. Any discussion?
Who made the motion?
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G3, Fund 101 for Sheriff's Department. This is $34,325, and I believe it's for a wrecked vehicle replacement.
It's insurance, it's budgeting insurance proceeds for a vehicle that was totaled in a pursuit when the car that was being pursued ran into it. So the insurance proceeds increase the revenues, and the money's being placed in the motor vehicle line for the sheriff's department to purchase another vehicle.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G4, Fund 101, Sheriff's Department, $1,852.98 for a Chevy Tahoe.
Similar situation in, it's budgeting insurance proceeds for damage that was incurred by one of our vehicles, by a car ramming it that was, there was some law enforcement activity going on. So basically, it's insurance proceeds going in, and we're adding it to the repair line. So the vehicle to be fixed.
Tahoe's being used in pursuit?
It wasn't really a pursuit.
Okay.
So is it the people hit it, their insurance company that's paying us?
I don't know. Probably don't have any insurance.
It was setting blocking, and the other car tried to get away and ran the Tahoe while it was sitting there.
So the question is are their insurance company paying it? Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G5, Fund 131 for Highway Department, $45,000. Mayor Britton, are you going to be addressing that, or Barry Poole?
Well, I'm here.
Okay.
Barry was here, but I think he acted like he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, he's head down.
Yeah, he acted like he wasn't feeling well.
So this is for parts for some of his highway trucks.
What?
I don't know.
Park Road.
So what, I mean, if you want to, we could delay this and he'd come to commission meeting. We could still have it on the agenda and present it in commission, since I don't have the details.
Okay, let's do
We need to
that.
approve it and request him to be here, or just let it go through.
We can just have it on the agenda. Just, there won't be a recommendation.
Basically, we're just going to table it until the,
Commission meeting.
yeah.
And keep it on the agenda.
I'll make that motion, we'll do that.
We got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4G6, is this going to be similar, Mayor
This is
Britton?
the guardrails.
Guardrails?
And this is what this is for. And they
In,
money to help guardrails.
in the back, did it not say fencing?
Well, that's the expenditure line that's in the chart of accounts, but that's where they pay for guardrails.
Okay. Do we have a motion to
I'll make a
approve?
motion to approve.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman DeBoard. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Goins of the Public Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. I call the Public Service Committee to order. Anybody wishing to speak?
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road. Our mayor was just full of information, thank you. I'm hoping I can be as lucky on what I'm gonna ask about. Item 4B, Sheriff's Department comes to County Commission to get permission to surplus a pickup truck with 118,000 miles on it. I've seen county officials come here and ask permission to sell a file cabinet that's gonna be surplus. But I sure didn't see the mayor come and get permission to tear down a county building, the little white spring house or storage building on the Hale property. Now, my question is for the mayor, Mr. Capps or Mr. Shipley. Can the mayor demolish whatsoever county property he wants to without the permission of county commission. It's time for you folks to step up and take some responsibility and answer the question. If he can do anything he wants to, why do we need you? Please, get me an answer. I'd love to hear it. He's full of information on everything else.
Anybody else? Seeing none?
Yes.
Oh,
I didn't give my address and name. Do I have to do it again? Okay, Mr. Shipley, I'm addressing you. Will you ask Mr. Britton why he did that and didn't come to you all for a vote to have that done? Will you ask Mr. Britton, please, for us taxpayers, please, please, will you ask him?
Not at this meeting, but I'll ask him, I'll call him and ask him.
Will you let me know what he said? I want it in writing.
anybody else? Seeing none. Item 3, no old business. 4A, interlocal corporation agreement for Pine Brook radio signal site. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. David Perkey, 2272 Cambridge Drive. When I was county mayor, CTAS told me that interlocal agreements are always good. The more of them you can have, the better. So on the radio project that we're completing involving the city of Morristown and Hamlin County and Walter State, I suggested that we do an interlocal agreement specifying who was paying for what on the Pine Brook Tower signal site, which is the primary site for Morristown and Hamlin County and will be the entryway into the state system on the Hawkins County side and the Cocke County site. This involves 3 major entities, as you know, the city of Morristown, Hamlin County, and Walter State. This interlocal agreement sets out the parameters of who funds the improvements to the site with the federal monies that you all have already designated, and also who is going to use the site and who has access to the site. So I would tell you, as I stand before you today, that the city of Morristown has approved the agreement. Walter State Community College has approved the agreement, and I would ask the county commission to approve the agreement. I'll be glad to take your questions, Mr. Chairman.
Is that going to be a big tower?
Well, the tower is already there. It's a 180-foot tower on just off of Pine Brook Road, owned by the city of Morristown.
So you don't have to pay for that then?
That's correct.
David is ready to operate now.
We're almost there. We're in the second quarter of this fiscal year. We look to be online by the end of the third quarter of this fiscal year, which will be October 1st. The towers, a lot of the tower equipment is done. That's our priority right now. It's proceeding well. We hit speed bumps, but we've been able to work through those speed bumps with Motorola and the state and stay within budget, which is always good. I don't anticipate this project going outside the budget, which is really good, but we are on schedule, for the install and operation.
Do we not have a breakdown of who's responsible for what part yet, or?
We do. We have that breakdown. And basically for the Pine Brook Road signal site, the improvements there will be funded 60% by the city through federal monies and 40% by the county. The city owns the site, and they have agreed to, and I think the county has agreed in principle that there will be no charge to Walter State. Their police department will have access to the site, but because of their importance in our community, we will not charge them for that. And Mr. Chairman, the split, the 60-40 split, is based on the same formula that's used for 911 calls for service.
And doesn't this one open up the communications
far in advance to what we've had historically?
Yes, sir. This will revolutionize public safety communications for the city, county, and Walter State. We will have access to multiple state antennas. We'll have access to the Pine Brook Road antenna. And most importantly, we'll be the only and the first local government in the state to have access to cell towers. And the way these radios will function, as I had mentioned before, is they'll constantly search for the best state or the Pine Brook Road tower. If at any time that signal is not strong enough, it goes automatically to the nearest cell tower. It's really revolutionary, and we'll be the first local government in the state to be on that. There will be 18 cell towers, AT&T cell towers, that our first responder personnel will have access to throughout the county.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion.
Motion?
Would
Do I have a
approve.
second?
Second. Second. I got one.
All in favor, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Members
you,
of the
sir.
commission.
Item 4B, surplus items from Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. Kent Mullins isn't here, I don't think, so.
It's a 2015 Dodge truck. The two mechanics looked at it, they both say the motor needs to be replaced. It has 118,000 miles on it, they said it would cost around $7,000 to replace the motor, and we decided to surplus it rather than spend the extra money with that many miles on it.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Tim? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, make a motion by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Goins. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Stapp of the Calendar and Rules Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. I call to order the Calendar and Rules Committee. Anyone wishing to address the committee may do so at this time. You have 5 minutes.
Eden Green, 4981 Cameron Road. I would like to add an item to the 421 Commission agenda. You voted on September 2021 to sue me and other citizens who were exercising our constitutional right to oppose the $103 million, well, some gens call it jail, I call it nightmare. My commissioner even voted to sue me, which is not good. I would like for you to add an item to the April 21st agenda and take another vote, and either one of two, tell the attorney to go on, file the lawsuit within 30 days, or tell the attorney not to file the lawsuit. You just need to put up or shut up. Be man and woman about it. You just think we were wrong? Push it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I feel the same way as Miss Edna Green does. You're going to sue, sue.
surprise.
If you ain't, like she said, put up or shut up.
Anyone else?
Why are we lingering with this?
All right, so we're going to start off here with the side that has the minutes on there. This is from your October 2020 meeting. This is the meeting where you all made a motion to give Bill Britton the permission to go ahead and to negotiate with Burwell Construction. On this paper that you see, written right underneath what the minutes truly were on that date, is handwriting by Mayor Bill Britton. He changed these minutes, this public record, to approve the contract with Burwell Construction Company for project manager services for the Justice Center project for $975,000. You all never gave him the permission to go with that contract. You gave him the permission to negotiate that contract. If you flip that paper over, you will see Tennessee Code Antics 39-16-504. Heading is Destruction of and Tampering with Governmental Records. A1, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly make a false entry in or false alteration of a government record. That's exactly what he did there. He changed the government record. 2, to make, present, or use any record document or thing with knowledge of its falsity, which that document is now, in the intent that it will be taken for genuine government record. So he is guilty of A1 and A2. If you go down to B, it's a violation of this section is a Class E felony. Mayor Bill Britton committed 2 Class E felonies. You have the proof right in front of you. You can make the public records request to see what it's written and what it was before. It was changed by Bill Britton. How many other records or minutes has Bill Britton changed? How many felonies has this guy committed? It's a very good question. None of you caught this, and if you did, you didn't speak up. You all should be catching stuff like this. You all need to know what happens from one meeting to the next meeting. It's a Class E felony. This is serious. This isn't some traffic citation. It needs to be addressed. We need to put it on the agenda for him to be censored by this board right here. This man shouldn't be out of prison. He should be in the new one that y'all are making. He shouldn't be allowed to even run for mayor this year because he has committed 2 Class E felonies. The proof is right here. He cannot deny it. And if this paper doesn't do enough, I've got the little trail that this came from. Be more than happy to show anybody that would like that trail. My second one is in regards to Bobby Hahn. Bobby Hahn went out and he passed out these notices, maybe not him himself, but somebody acting in his capacity, passed these out, put them on mailboxes. I was contacted by one of these people. You do realize it's a federal offense to put anything on a mailbox, right? You have committed you have violated a federal law. It's a federal law. You should know this, Bobby. Also, on your letter, you have the Tennessee Hamlin County logo on there. Who authorized you to use this logo? You don't work for the Hamlin County of Tennessee. This notice did not come from the Hamlin County of Tennessee. You took it upon yourself to put it on there. These are things that need to be looked at. This is your constituent right here. He's part of you all. He represents you all. But he violated federal law, and he's using a logo that I'm pretty darn sure
Thank you, Mr.
he
Julio.
wasn't
Your time is
authorized
up. I
to
appreciate
use.
you standing up. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Kind of ironic that you'd have a gentleman who would accuse me of a felony when he is a convicted felon.
Yep.
From
That's right.
the state of Florida.
Yep.
And also accusing Bobby. Also accusing Bobby of doing unethical things, which isn't true. So it's just, again, consider the source. Other comments he's made have been about half-truths, mostly opinions. Those comments were made by a convicted felon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody else want to comment? Anyone else? If not, we'll move to item 3A under old business. We have no old business. Under 4, new business, review of regular calendar items. We'll have to go back and look at the Finance Committee. It was E1 and 2, but on the regular calendar, it shows to be F. So we'll need to make that F1 and 2. So I'd like to add that to that. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion to a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4B, review of consent calendar items. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll need seconds. Any discussion? If not, all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Stepp. Before we leave tonight, I want to call your attention to the May calendar. It has the budget dates that you need to add to your individual calendars. So we're going to be quite busy during the month of May, so be sure that you add those to the calendar. I've also been asked to announce that the youth leadership class will be at the April Commission meeting. One of their assignments will be to find out who their commissioner is and to contact that commissioner. So you may be getting a phone call from one of these members. So keep that in mind.
Who is this, Howard? I didn't
It's
hear you.
the youth leadership class.
Youth leadership.
Yes.
Some church?
No.
Church?
No.
It's, what's the guy?
It's Darrell Brady.
Yeah.
Darrell Brady. It's the
Yeah,
group that
Darrell
Darrell Brady brings in here every year
To
to
his
see us. The group that Darrell Brady brings in every year to see us. Who it is.
On your way out, don't forget to put your notebooks in the basket. We stand adjourned.
Glad they're doing it.